wonderful to be here with you guys and see all your beautiful faces. Hi, folks. Hi, Suzanne. So where do we start today? I kind of like to give kind of a pep talk before we start meditating. It's like, the coach, before you go get on the field or you get on the pitch, right, to play the game, the coach will say some things to get everybody focused and working together and all that. And I think that works with meditation too, instead of just going into it. So let me hopefully say it, be very brief. But this summer I've been kind of taking a spiritual retreat, and one of the people that I have been studying is Meister Eckhart. And I know you guys probably have heard of him, and I had heard of him too, but I never really studied him. He was just another, medieval mystic, a bunch of those. And I started reading his stuff, and he was an amazing man. They called him the man from whom God hid nothing. What a title, right? And he's incredibly Buddhist, and they're pretty sure he never read anything or even heard of a Buddhist in his lifetime. He's very Sufi. He's just a universal mystic, and he spent the last couple of years defending himself from nasty Franciscans, which really hurts because I really love Francis, and to think that his followers could be picking on a guy like Eckhart just a few years after his death. It's like, well, there you go. And probably if they would have listened more to Eckhart, who kind of got pushed out of the way, they didn't say he was a heretic, but they said some of his teachings were heretical. You have to be a Jesuit to figure out what that means. But anyway, he died before they could do anything really nasty to him, so that's good. And but if they would have listened to him, among other people, Julian of Norwich is another one, the Reformation wouldn't have needed to happen. It's just these amazing people. And one of the things he says that every morning before you practice, do whatever, just have beginner's mind. And that's really hit me hard. I've been meditating a lot for a long time, and I know how to meditate. You get into this routine where you think you know how to do stuff, and that keeps you from being just completely present in the newness of the creation in the moment. So let's all try to no longer how long we've been doing this. Just really be very just. It's all new right here. This has never happened before in the history of the universe. This is all right here. And if we can just be aware, we'll get a lot out of that. And I kind of want the focus of this meditation to be, because you can have meditation. There's so many types of meditation, but and you can invent a new type, as we sit here. But one of the ways to use meditation is a type of connecting with higher power or spirit or God, or however you want to say that, whatever language you want to use, is just fine. And asking a question and deeply listening for the answer, because there's a lot of scriptures that say that God really likes when we talk to him. There's an exchange here going on. And our old buddy Ken Wilber talked about the three faces of God, which was like a real revelation for me, because I went through kind of a fundamentalist evangelical thing. I went through early Catholic, and then went over to the dark side. I'm not saying the Protestants are dark side. Anyway, I went over to that thing for a while, but then you kind of, a lot of stuff happened, and you get hurt by religion and all the nonsense and the silliness and nastiness, I might add. And so you think you have to leave all that kind of personal relationship with God stuff behind. But Ken said there's three ways to connect with God. Okay. And there's third person, which is kind of what we're doing right now. I'm talking about God as a reality, as something over there, as something that you can theologically struggle with and try to study and learn about. by comparing the notes of all the great masters and the traditions and the scriptures and all this stuff. Okay, that's a third person. And then there's the first person, which a lot of us who got beat up by religion kind of went to, where you are, little old John. I'll use me as the guinea pig for this, and then all the boundaries go away, and there is just that. And you can call it God, that's fine, but there is just God, and you are God, you know. And again, Meister Eckhart says the eyes through which you see the world are the eyes through which God sees you. Think about that one. That's pretty amazing. And I had that revelation, kind of insight, years and years and years ago, and I just got to California to study transpersonal psychology, and I was talking with a woman, and we were talking about all this stuff, and I said, well, she said, I don't believe in a personal God. And I said, well, are we being personal right now? She goes, yes. There it is. Okay. Obviously, personal is an aspect of God, because we can be personal. And what? We are made in his image. So the good book says. So think about that. That's pretty cool. So there's that. And once you've had that experience, just like Pam, she had it when she was like in her early 20s or something, or late teens, maybe early 20s, and she fell into a flower. And that's kind of a classic thing. You just walk around not expecting anything, and all of a sudden, boom, something opens up and you fall into this place of, it's all good, it's all God. It's, I never knew this before. Why didn't they tell me about this in church, right? And it changes everything. Things are never quite the same after that. So those types of moments, it can be fasting, praying in the wilderness, psychedelic substances, just dumb luck, grace. You're sitting on a park bench like Eckhart Tolle, just dum 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 dum. I'm really boring kind of person. All of a sudden, boom! One of the most enlightened people on the planet, pretty quick. So you can't put God in a box. You can't say it has to happen this way or that way. Although we do a lot. But leaving that aside, what I wanted to say with the other one is the second person relationship with God, and that's where there's you and there's God, and you can actually communicate with this higher power, this higher consciousness. And not only is it cool, but it's requested in certain traditions and certain scriptures and certain altered states, that when we're in that zone, we understand it. So it's okay to it's not like God reading his text and, oh no, it's Dupuy again. I don't have time for this today. I'm God. I'm running multiple universes right now. Doesn't seem to be that way. But so if you have any questions, that are on your mind or your heart, that ask them as we go into this. And this is a 25-minute meditation, and it is it's Re-enchantment, which is one I really, really like. And we're doing the second one, which is Theta, which is a really good brainwave state for kind of getting answers and connecting with spirit in a second person way, or in a visionary way, or in a way that it's not just pure emptiness or pure fullness or whatever that is, but it's a way, it's a zone in which the angels and spirit communicates with us. So it's a good one for this, what I'm asking us to do. So if you've never done that second person aspect of God, or something you left behind when you were a little kid, why don't we give it a shot? And I have questions that I struggle with, and maybe have had some insights, and it's not like a You just punch in the numbers and you get the answer. I mean, the answers can come in so many ways. And our dear friend H. Almas, whom I've interviewed or conversed with a couple of times on the Deep Transformation podcast that I do with Roger Walsh, he wrote a book and he says the ways of enlightenment are infinite. Spirit is infinite, so there are infinite ways, and they're all okay. We can get we get our Christian thing. Wow, you have to this, that's, and the other, or it has to be a realization of emptiness, or the wolf has to come and chat with you, or whatever it is. Those are all legitimate expressions of divinity, and they're all really okay. Which is like, hey, so you can just kind of worry about waking up, and your own connection to God, and not sitting around judging other people's um, enlightenment or how awake they are. That's kind of nice to get off. Thank you, Hamid, for that insight. Anyway, brilliant guy. So yeah, with that said, let's do this thing. And one of the questions I was struggling with, just to give you it was like, why do we hate so much? Why did all these fucking wars happen? On my watch, while I'm here, and I've got friends in both that are involved, in danger, in the new thing in Israel, and of course Ukraine, and I know there's other stuff going elsewhere, but those are the two that have really hit me hard. I only have so much hurt that I can take in, but the question, Spirit, why do we have this miraculous power to hate one another? Why don't we just be kind and respectful? That'd be a lot better way to do things, But so that's one of my existential questions that I struggle with, and I'm not suggesting you should, but if you do get an answer, I wouldn't mind hearing it. So anyway, find something and it could be about your direction in your life, or uh, why they can't come up with a unified field theory, which I think I know. I'll tell you later if you want to hear that, or whatever the question is. But just use this time as a time of inquiry. Put the question out there, and then sink into the inner stillness. And we use sound vibrations to do this stuff. Well, it's not quiet. There's some sound. That's right. But we're not looking for quiet. I think what we're looking for is stillness. And the whole universe is nothing but vibrations, that they learned in quantum physics, and the mystery that just keeps blowing our minds. The deeper we go, the weirder it gets. So, all right, I think that's enough. Re-enchantment, track 2. Well, welcome back, everyone. That was pretty amazing. Really changes things when we meditate together. I think you can all feel the feel that's created. Um, yeah, and the answers are definitely there if we listen. So it's uh, it's very interesting. And then I was thinking that sometimes in our meditation practice, it just seems to become flat. It's like we just hit a level and we plateau out. And yeah, it's true. And I think I first heard about that or learned about that from somebody besides, my own experience with George Leonard. If you guys remember him, he was a colleague of Michael Murphy and Esalen, and he'd been a writer for Life magazine back in the day, and then he just changed and he started studying Aikido when he was like 60 years old and became a 5th or 6th degree black belt, Dan, 6th Dan, I think. And people would come from all over the world to study with him. Wow, amazing guy. But he said, the way things go is that we get these plateaus of experience that seems really quite flat, and then something happens, and we have they call it punctuated equilibrium, and bam, all of a sudden something happens that kicks us into a whole new level, and an evolutionary change inside of us, and it's true, and you can get really. You've had a lot of experience, transformational experiences. I guess you can get attached to um, the transformational part of it instead of just the daily, just opening your mind and heart up to spirit, to God, and just making that part of just what you do. It's like you don't have to think about it. You get up and get with your practice, and they also found that seems to be the way of things in evolution, and species just kind of show up. They thought it was all going to be very you know uh, according to classic Darwinian theory, right? These little mutations would happen over time, and you could trace them in the fossil record. And well, that just didn't happen. Oops. Just like with the James Webb telescope out there, they're seeing things that aren't supposed to be there, and they're just trying to figure it all out now. It's very deep mystery, and you find these new beings. It just appear in the fossil record, just like with no precedent, and they just bam show up. And if you look at our lifetime. Well, some of us are older than others, but over the last 5 or 6 decades or 80 years or whatever, the change has been so incredibly fast in the human experience and politics and technology and spirituality and understanding of E equals MC squared and the understanding of the brain and meditation and kind of this scientific perspective on what they've been telling us. The ancient ones have been telling us for thousands of years, all this stuff in just one lifetime or 2 lifetimes. Incredible. We're trying to catch up with ourselves and trying to figure out if our wisdom will keep up or catch up to our transformational, godlike creativity. And now we have AI that's changing the whole world. Where that's going to go, and AI keeps AIing itself and making itself smarter and smarter. And like, So yeah, let's see where that is going to take us. But the idea is to establish the practice and then be patient. And if you're in one of those plateau times in your spiritual growth, we'll take a deep breath and just be grateful for that also, because the times of change will happen again. It's guaranteed. It's in your contract, your cosmic contract that you probably forgot that you filled out, but you did, and it'll happen. So yeah, and I said a lot going into this thing, so I wanted to open up if there's any questions that people have about anything about, I awake and practice, and if I can't answer them, I will, or just comments about, your practice and you're using this technology and how it's been working, what you've learned, and stuff that you think that we should, might benefit other people to hear, because I certainly want to hear it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so we're now opening this session for sharing or any questions. And I'd like to begin with a question earlier from Neil, John. So Neil asked, if we are new to this technology, should we start with alpha waves, then go to delta? And also another question is, are there any chances we can get addicted to this and experience withdrawal-like symptoms if we don't listen to it daily?
I don't think so. One of my who is this? Who's the name?
This is Neil.
Neil, yeah, Neil. I part of a large chunk of my professional life was working with addicts, and wrote a book about it, integral recovery, et cetera. And I lived with addicts. I mean, I was with addicts for a long time, and there's a certain just desperate craving that you're willing to do anything, to get the substance or the activity or whatever it is. And we just don't see that happening with this technology. You might really want to meditate. You left your thing at home, but it's not like, oh my God, I've got to go beat up an old lady to get her her iPhone so I can. It's ridiculous. It doesn't happen. It's not that desperate craving. Yeah, you can get maybe a little habitual with it, where you kind of feel a bit of anxiety if you don't do it. But the nice thing is about this technology, if you use it all the time, your brain changes. And so if you can't find your meditation device, you left it or it broke or whatever, you can still meditate, and your brain has been really changed. You can reach very deep meditation states without the technology if you've been using it. At least that's how it seems to be working out, what we've learned over the years that we've been doing this. So nah, I don't think you'll be an addict, but we should have a special sale for addicts. If you're really strung out and you want to hear this stuff, we'll make it cheap. But anyway, no, we just no.
Thank you, John. So I just want to go back to his first question about somebody who's new to this technology. How should they start? Should they start with alpha waves and then go to delta, or is there any?
I would start with one. I wouldn't start with gamma. Okay. And because that's a very stimulating, a very, very high frequency, and it's good for some things, but generally in meditation, we want to just, calm our minds, relax the monkey for a while, and just go down into just pure awareness, where we can experience awareness without content. Or if content arises, we don't have to get lost in it. So, okay, there's a thought going by, there's a neurosis floating by, there's a world-changing theory, there's an angel of God showing up, whatever it is, we just won't get too hung up in it. So I would say alpha is a really good place to start, but you don't necessarily have to start there. All of the alpha, theta, and delta, and probably even epsilon are just fine to start with, and they'll get you down there, and then you can work with the different things. But I don't think there's anything that indicates that you should start with one rather than the other, except for gamma being the exception. And gamma is really powerful, and you don't want to listen to it every day. I think like 3 times a week is sufficient.
Thank you, John. So Neil has another question, but before that, I just want to remind everybody that you can, raise your hands if you have any questions using the raise hand feature, or type in the chat box, and we'll get to your question. So Neil's other question, John, is, are there any contraindications for this technology, like in people with epilepsy and chemical mental conditions like schizophrenia?
Yeah, good question. There was some stuff at the very beginning of this technology, and I can't remember his name, but he was pretty famous. He wrote a really good book about this, maybe 30 years ago. It's been a long time. Excellent book. But he didn't like Bill Harris very much. Thought Bill Harris was a pain in the ass, and Bill Harris was an 8 on the Enneagram, so of course he was a pain in the ass. But anyway, he was Bill, and I loved him for what he gave us. But he did this little snarky email one time about this stuff probably causing epileptic fits. And what they have found that causes epileptic fits in people who are prone that way is when you go in discotheques and all the flashing lights and everything, that can bring it on. But there's never been any reported cases that I'm aware of. And I followed it for quite a while, where these sounds or these binaural beats would do that. It was the visual light thing that happened that. So avoid discotheques, I guess. And if you don't have an epileptic seizure, which I've been around several times when they've happened, and nothing that you'd want to bring on. Except the ancient Greeks and everything thought it was a divine thing. And sometimes people have great insights when they have these things. But anyway, let's not get into that. But no, there's no indication that this stuff will also, but the schizophrenic part, we don't have any. I'm not aware of it being able to help people with schizophrenia, but I'm also not aware of it hurting people with schizophrenia, like bringing on psychotic episodes and stuff. So there's really no evidence either way. You could try it. It probably wouldn't hurt. It might help, but be very careful, because we don't know a lot about. It's a pretty mysterious condition, schizophrenia. So there's not a heck of a lot of evidence, both pro or con.
Okay, thank you, John. Does anybody else want to share or have any questions? About a few minutes. Okay, looks like no other questions today, but if you guys have any questions, please reach out to us at support@iawaketechnologies.com. And before we close, I just want to thank you all for joining today's live meditation. So as I mentioned earlier, we're celebrating our 13th anniversary this month. And as part of this celebration, we are offering all of our iAwake tracks that will be on discount for up to 50% off starting tomorrow through the 30th of October. However, for those who still don't have Re-enchantment and wants to buy the full digital version, you can buy this track for 50% off starting today. So I'll put the link in the chat box plus the coupon code. So that will be valid until next week. So I want to thank everybody. And John, do you have anything you want to share in closing?
Let us know if you found this was helpful. Okay, because if it is helpful, maybe we could do it more often. I used to do something like this once a week many years ago, and I don't know, for whatever reasons we stopped doing it. But if you found this was helpful, maybe we could do it every 6 weeks, or every month or something like that. So it's certainly I like having you guys live. I like feeling it, and the energy that each one of you brings to the collective is definitely felt and appreciated. So. Okay. Well, God bless you guys. Go deep. Find God. Figure it out. That's what we're here to do. Okay.